Moore, right?
Yeah, we're talking Elijah Moore, and if you want to bet on Elijah Moore and his props because his stock has been going up lately, you can do it with FanDuel because right now FanDuel is giving new customers $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is simple to use, and they have a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. As you were saying, Bo, Elijah Moore has seen his stock go up the last 2 weeks. He's been playing his best football of the season. It was a low bar to surpass, but nevertheless, he did surpass a low bar. It's Black Friday, so I'm going to ask this way. Are you guys buying stock in Elijah Moore's resurgence within the Browns offense?
Jason, what say you?
How much stock do I have to buy?
Well, it's up to you, I guess. Buying a little bit of stock?
He's been better, certainly. I don't know that he'll be what he was billed to be in the preseason. I don't know if that's realistic. But certainly, and what I liked on Sunday was he dropped a big pass on the last. Yeah. Was it the last drive? Was it? I don't know. I'm trying to remember.
It was earlier. It was earlier in the game.
He dropped a big pass, and they came right back to him on the next play. Yeah. And he caught it, and I think it was like a 9-yard. I think it was like a first down pass that he dropped, and he came back on second down and caught it, and got like 9 out of it. So I like the fact that they trust him enough to go right back to him, and that he shook that off and made the catch. I don't want to see Elijah Moore in the backfield. I don't want to see some of the gadget stuff that we saw earlier on. But they're going to need him. Like, they're going to need somebody to emerge from this wide receiver group if they're going to continue down this path, if they're going to go far in the playoffs. It can't all be Amari. Like, there's got to be somebody else that they can look to and count on. So I'll buy, but I'm not putting everything in my account. He's not going to be the only thing in my portfolio. Yeah. I'll buy a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'll buy a little bit.
Jay, you buying any stock in him?
I don't know, man. I'd rather buy some David Njoku stock, and he's dropped like way more passes than him. Like David Njoku dropped a lot of passes last week too, but they went back to him and he caught it. I just like it because he's a bigger target. Some of the stuff that Elijah Moore, we thought he was going to excel at, he's just not very good at that. He doesn't have running back vision. He's not a guy that can. They thought, when they were selling it to us during the preseason, we thought it was going to be like some Percy Harvin type stuff, where you get him in the backfield, maybe return some punts, that just hasn't been the case. No, I'd rather just, like, if I'm watching DTR, I would rather him just force the ball to Amari Cooper on these slants. I don't understand. And here's another thing: why do they continuously give Amari Cooper slants? Like, they give those to him, or is he that elusive where they know he's running slant and they can do nothing about it?
I think it's that.
Yeah.
It's slants coming, and he still gets off press coverage and catches the football. So I'm just ride with that in David Njoku. That's what I'm going to do.
Elijah Moore is medium sauce.
Yes.
He's a third. I think what we're learning is Elijah Moore at best is a third wide receiver.
Yeah.
Right? The Browns don't have a legitimate number 2 wide receiver.
No.
It's something they're going to need to get. They've been trying to do that in the third round of the draft, and so far in 3 straight years they've failed. Now, again, I'm going to give Cedric Tillman a little more time because it's a rookie season, but still. If you look at Elijah Moore the last 2 weeks, 14 targets, 11 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. That's good. But even if you extrapolate that over a full season, you're talking about 850 yards. Now, 8 touchdowns if you extrapolate, but that would be really good. But what is that? 850 yards. It's a number 3 receiver. That's what he is. I think a lot of people, when they brought him in, thought he'd be a number 2, or maybe there were some people saying, I don't know who it was, saying Elijah Moore might even be better than Amari Cooper. He was a high draft pick. He clearly was not worthy of where he was drafted. It's 3 seasons in. When we got him, everybody made the excuse, well, the Jets had bad quarterbacks, and blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, now it's 3 years, and to be fair, the Browns haven't had good quarterback play either for the most part. But I think Elijah Moore is what he is. I think the best case scenario for Elijah Moore is that he does what he's done the last 2 weeks over the course of the season, which is a guy who gets 5 or 6 catches, averages about 50 yards, scores a touchdown here or there. If he did that for the rest of the season, I'd take it. that'd be great. But I don't think he's ever going to be any more than that.
Remember-
So I'll buy a little bit of stock in him. But
You're with me. Diversified.
Yes, very diversified. Here's the question. Mike, bring up that graphic again where you got the leaders in receiving, please, for the Browns. Could you bring that graphic up? All right, guys, I'm going to put you to it right here. See this graphic. Who finishes second in receiving yards on the Browns? Njoku right now has 59 more yards than Elijah Moore. We got, 7 games to go. Who you betting on finishing second, assuming they both play the rest of the year?
Njoku. Easy.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. I think it's David.
Want to say Elijah Moore?
I do too. I
want to.
Because
I think it's better for the Browns if that's the case, because I think David Njoku is going to stay on the same pace. And if Elijah Moore finishes ahead, I think if I pick Elijah Moore, it's about him being better, not Njoku going backwards.
I would like to think that
So I'm going to go with Elijah Moore because I'm going to have a little faith here going down the stretch.
I'd like to think that there's more possibility of a splash play from Elijah Moore just because the routes Njoku's running.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen it against the Chargers. We saw him break off a 60-yard touchdown run in L.A. a couple years ago because he made a great catch, made a guy miss, and off he went.
Right.
But if you're playing the odds, I think there's a greater chance that Elijah Moore breaks a couple big ones just because of the role that he's asked to play. I'm going to say Njoku, but it's close. You could easily be right.
Yeah, I'll make the case for. I'll go with Moore just because I feel like it's better for the Browns if it ends up being Moore. So.
Oh, for
Well,
sure.
let me ask
I'll
you guys
hope that.
this. Steve, pull the graphic back up.
Yeah.
When the season's over at the end of week 17, will Donovan Peoples-Jones still be the 5th leading receiver?
Well, who's
On the
6th right
Browns.
now?
No.
Kareem Hunt.
No.
How many yards does Kareem Hunt have?
Kareem Hunt has 49 yards right now.
Where's-
Jordan
where's
Akins or
Tillman?
Atkins,
Yeah, how many yards does Tillman have?
10.
Oh, God.
3 catches for 10 yards this
He's
year.
got 10 yards.
Oh,
I would
Marquise-
love to
Marquise
hear
Goodwin
some of our
also has 10
conversations
yards.
about Cedric Tillman before the season.
I would have thought he'd be around 35 to 45
Oh,
right
my
now.
God.
In
can't
7
believe
games, he has 9 targets, 3 catches, 10 yards, long
All right,
5.
over under 100 receiving yards for Kareem Hunt this year.
Over.
I'm going over.
So he's got to get 50 yards in 7 games.
Yeah.
Over under 100 receiving yards with Cedric Tillman. He's 90 in 7 games.
Over.
I'm going over too.
Over.
I got
What
to
about
put
David
101.
Bell?
All he needs is one game of like 40 or 50.
Yeah, that's it. And then he could get 8 yards a game after
Yeah.
that.
Receivers are not the Browns thing, man.
David Bell has 33 yards this season. Will he finish with over 100?
David
Under.
Bell, I'm going under on David
feels,
Bell.
I haven't looked off the top of my head. It feels like Tillman's gotten a lot more reps than David Bell these last couple
Yes,
weeks.
he has.
That's a fact.
What's with Marquise Goodwin? He's been out a month with this concussion.
Did
Well,
you
he
see
had-
him get hit?
No, I know, but like what's going on? Is he practicing?
He
or
didn't
no?
practice yesterday. We'll see the update today, but I assume he won't practice.
Yeah.
He didn't practice yesterday.
He did not practice yesterday.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be really
I mean,
serious.
he had to be carried off the field, basically.
How many yards does he have?
10. Him and Tillman combined.
He's only got 10
Him and
also?
Tillman and Harrison. Well, he has rushing yards. He
Oh
has
yeah,
more
what does
rushing
Harrison
yards.
Bryant have receiving?
10.
What's he have rushing?
Harrison Bryant rushing
6, 8?
has 4 carries for 8 yards,
Yeah.
and he has 4 catches for 10 yards.
Will Harrison Bryant end up with more rushing or receiving yards?
But the crazy thing is, Harrison Bryant play like every down though.
What about the other wide receiver, tight end, whose name I can't think of?
Jordan Akins?
Yeah,
Is it Akins or Atkins? I always pronounce it wrong.
Akins. I think it's
It's
Akins.
Akins. Akins has 45 yards.
Oh, he ain't getting 100. He'll finish with 70.
Harrison Bryant. That cracks me up.
Can you imagine? We like all of my stats for these guys.
We tried telling you, G.
all of these monstrous stats. These guys have Minimoski right now.
Oh my God.
10?
Gee, what's lower than Minimoski? Because Minimoski feels like what DPJ had, 100 yards in 8 games. And by the way, DPJ got 4 snaps in the Thanksgiving Day game yesterday.
Yeah. Who was saying? Somebody here was saying he was going to play a role in Detroit.
He
I'm
got a roll.
not gonna name names.
Just because you go back home don't
Was
mean
it
you
Earl?
balling.
Oh.
Aaron, they try to put that on you, dog. It's like, was it optimistic? It was Earl.
Yo, Earl and Tyvis have the best last one. When Earl cracks up like that, it's hard not to just follow it as laughter.
That's true.
And Tyvis the same way. Tyvis giggles at
All right, what are you guys going with on the Elijah Moore versus Njoku? What do you
I
guys
think
say?
with a young quarterback, I think tight ends just always seem to be that safety blanket, and the route tree that Njoku runs, and G pointed this out. I hadn't even noticed this till G pointed it out. He chip blocks and just kind of fades out to the flat, and it's a dump down. And if he wants, he could probably have 10 catches a game.
10.
If the quarterback goes through his progression and just
Easy
decides
money.
to dump it off. So you go back and you look at Elijah Moore's, game log. He's getting a decent amount of targets, but Njoku had 14 targets last game. 14 targets. Now he had 4 drops.
Yeah.
But 14 targets in DTR's second start bowl, if you want to be specific. First start in the Mike Lucas official book. But 14 targets over Elijah Moore
Yeah, that's
had
true.
7 last week. I'm going to go with Njoku.
He
just
just
based
blocks.
on
He just blocks and then kind of
opportunities.
stands there, and he's open. Like so, they just throw it to him.
It's funny. The
And
Browns
Stefanski loves screens, and their
Yeah.
tight end screen plays have been masterful this season.
The Browns have always, for many years, pre-Nick Chubb, were always terrible in fantasy. Like, you never wanted any Browns players in fantasy because they never
Did
had
anything.
good skill position players. And then you got Nick Chubb, and he's been a good. He's a
Solid.
better NFL player
Yeah.
than fantasy player because he doesn't catch a lot of passes. But he's always been a really good, reliable fantasy player. But this year they don't really have anybody that's a good. Like, even Amari Cooper has been decent, but he doesn't have any touchdowns.
They're the Patriots. Like they're the Patriots.
Yeah, he doesn't with DTR. Amari's not going to put up big numbers.
Like when the Patriots always was the little they had the small white running back.
White running back, Rex Burkhead.
They had Rex Burkhead,
Danny Woodhead, and Danny Woodhead.
And then they would have like
Then it became
Ramondre
James White.
and you'd be like, man, I can't pick them.
Yeah, and they have nobody you can use.
No, they have nobody. No one's getting
And
over.
Jerome Ford is a serviceable fantasy player, but he's not reliable from week
the
to week.
Browns on offense play a lot like the old them like 2018, 2019 Patriots.
They still have Tom Brady. You could always use Tom Brady, but
I mean, Tom Brady would throw. You couldn't tell. Tom Brady be like, he threw for 269, and you were like,
right. But he spread it around.
right, just no crazy numbers.
We would kill for 269.
Oh, 269.
All right, so we're all buying. G's not buying any stock in Elijah Moore, and Jason and I are buying Minimowski stock.